You're listening to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
It is Monday, June 3rd, and we are digging into this topic of how the rain, the precipitation has really affected farmers. It was nice to talk with Pastor Kohlbaum about that, get his perspective. Mm-hmm. Now we go straight to the farmer, and we're going to get that perspective from Jeffrey Wielert. He's a farmer the farmer and owner of Bountiful Blessings Produce in Hinckley, Illinois. And we've had a chance to talk with Farmer Jeff before. Jeff, it's a joy to have you back on.
It's great to be here, Andy. And Sarah, thank you.
Our pleasure. Now, what do typical spring labors look like at Bountiful Blessings Produce in your farm in Hinckley, Illinois?
Well, we're a small farm compared to some of the farms around us, and we grow all vegetables here. So, but basically we start out, we fall moldboard plow, so everything is turned over, and as we start the spring, we disc and drag and get everything smooth and ready to go. And this year, it's been just almost impossible to get out in the field because of the rains and weather that we've been having. We plant everything with older equipment, so it's a little bit easier for us, and we can go in when it's a little bit wetter than most people. So we were able to get part of our first crop in.
How has the spring rains affected you and maybe the farms around you? And what? And we always, I don't know. When we road trip, we drive past these fields that are just covered in water. What does that flooding actually do to a field long term?
Well, I'm not so sure that long term there's a problem, other than if people have put down plant food or fertilizer or maybe an herbicide to keep the weeds back. A lot of the times, with the heavy rains, that gets washed away, so it's not as effective, or maybe not even effective at all. With us, we tend to be more towards the organic side of things, so we don't use a lot of chemicals on the farm. But all that takes into you have to take that into consideration. So the farms around us, if they're going to plant corn, if they're going to plant soybeans. They've already put some of their stuff in the ground as far as the chemicals to prepare for the crop. So that stuff may not be as effective, but most of all, it just we take a lot of measures to prevent erosion. But there is erosion from the rain, so some of the topsoil gets washed away and ends up probably down in the Mississippi River somewhere.
What do you typically, you mentioned all vegetables there, what do you typically plant in the spring at Bountiful Blessings?
Well, our first stuff is like radishes, onions, all stuff that can handle a little bit of cold weather. So cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, kale, and we had all of that planted, and then we got hit, I guess 2 weeks ago, with hail at 11 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, and then we got hit again at midnight that night with quarter-size hail. So our first crop completely was destroyed.
Mm-hmm. So everything that you have planted already destroyed and not able to really plant right now.
Well, we were able to get last Saturday, actually, I hate to admit this, but last Sunday morning we were able to get into the field. So I was unable to make it to church on Sunday morning, but we were able to get our crop second planting in, and by afternoon it was raining. So we snuck in about 15 rows of those vegetables that I mentioned: cabbage, kale, cauliflower, broccoli, lettuce. And we did get a few peppers in, which we had not been able to do before.
So all the crops are going to be late season crops this year, it sounds like.
Absolutely. I guess what's the most devastating thing right now is, at least for our guys around us, is they have to get their corn in by a certain date, which I believe is June 5th. If they do not get their corn in by June 5th, it will not mature in time for the fall harvest.
Does it needs to be what, knee high by
4th of July.
by July? Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a wives' tale. Now normally it's probably neck high by the 4th of July. The new genetics and so forth, they've engineered to be much faster and much more durable. However, it still takes so many days to grow corn. And I'm not a corn farmer, so I don't know those exact dates, but I would say somewhere around 95 to 105 days to develop corn. And if I believe June 5th is the day. Now, some farmers have insurance, and they're able to to get help in that way. I talked to a gentleman yesterday. He said it costs about $15 per acre for insurance. Some farmers choose to get that insurance. As a vegetable farmer, we can get insurance, but it costs actually more than that. By the time you pay for it and everything, it's just too expensive to use.
Cost prohibitive. With all the rain that we've had so far, it's and the hail damaging that first planting, now planting again. Where does that leave you at this point? Even if the rain stops now, what else would you be able to plant? How is that going to impact your harvest this year and thus livelihood and all the families that get the food, get that produce from you?
Well, what I'm concerned about most is we generally start. We already other years have harvested items at this time, like lettuce and spinach, green onions, radishes. We haven't been able to harvest anything yet. In fact, I'm doubtful that we'll be able to even get those items in before it gets too hot. A lot of these cool weather, so it makes it difficult. As far as impact for our customers, we've decided that we're going to just keep going. If we have to buy from other local farmers that are able to get a crop in, work in cooperation with them, or possibly buy stuff as close to our location as possible, whether that means buying a Michigan product, an Indiana product, an Iowa product, so that we have something for our customers to buy, just to sustain our own livelihood.
How has the farming community come together to support each other during this time? You mentioned buying produce from other farms. How has the community come together to support each other during this time?
Well, that's a real good question, and I've seen a lot of guys. I'm in a neighborhood where most everyone here is a farmer, so we kind of hang out together and different things. We have coffee together, these kinds of things. So there's a lot of talk. I know there's quite a few of the conventional farmers that are meeting today in conjunction with the Farm Bureau in the area to try to determine what to do, whether to gamble on planting, whether to take what the insurance that's available. And then I think it decreases as time goes on, the amount of money the farmer might be able to get. Now, in the vegetable business, like I said before, we don't have that insurance, so we're going to keep planting. We've got greenhouses that we will be putting more tomatoes in. That'll be grown in the greenhouse, what they call a high tunnel, so we can kind of control the climate there. But guys that have 10 or 20,000 acres they're putting corn or soybeans in, they're at the mercy of God. Whatever comes down, if it's rain, hail, or storms, they're going to have to deal with it. So they've got a lot of decisions to make, I would say, in the next 5 to 15 days on what they're going to do.
When do you start planting pumpkins for the fall? I know you did. I know you grew pumpkins the last few years.
Right.
When do you start planting? That's June usually, isn't it?
June 10th is our day. We like to have them in by June 10th. Wow. So right now, the ground that the pumpkins will be planted on, we can't even get in to work it. So it's going to be nip and tuck. Today is the 31st, so we've got about 10 days. If we can get the ground dried out in 10 days and get the crop in, I would say the last date that we could probably plant pumpkins would be somewhere around the 21st of June in order to get a crop that's ready for Halloween or for, fall decoration.
That'd be rough to not have pumpkins for Thanksgiving. How many pumpkin pies?
Oh,
Yeah.
priorities.
I know, I'm sorry. I go straight to dessert.
Always love it.
How can we support our farmers? How can we pray for our farmers? We had a chance to talk with Pastor Kohlbaum about that. We have just a minute left. Jeff, what can we do to support you and fellow farmers?
Well, one thing about being a Christian farmer, I have faith that God will provide, and He always has, hence the name of our business, Bountiful Blessings Farm. Somehow this will all work out, but we just ask our family and friends and neighbors to pray for favorable weather, that we can get our crops in, that we can have a harvest. One of our farmers at our church told me there's never been a year he couldn't plant, and there's never been a year he can't harvest. And so we're praying again that will be that will happen this year again as we go forth and trust God for another bountiful year.
Jeff Wielert, farmer at Bountiful Blessings Produce in Hinckley, Illinois. Thanks so much, Jeff, for being our guest on the Coffee Hour. You and other farmers will continue to be in our prayers, and I hope we get those pumpkins. Thanks so much, Jeff.
And, God's blessings to all of you.
Thanks for joining us for the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support the Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit KFUO.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@KFUO.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.